Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn with Wasim. This is Muhammad Wasim Khan, an instructor of your project planning and management course. I hope you all are doing well. As you know that in the previous lecture, we have discussed the first part of the project quality management, and we have discussed some important process and with inputs, tools, and techniques there. Today, in this part of the lecture, we are going to discuss the remaining um, processes of the project quality management, that is, the quality assurance and quality control, along with its inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. This is lesson 8B. In preparation of this lesson, materials have been taken from different online sources in the shape of books, websites, research papers, and presentations, etc. However, the author does not have any intention to take any benefit of these in his or her own name. This lecture is prepared and delivered only for educational purposes and is not intended to infringe upon the copyrighted material. Sources have been acknowledged where applicable. The views expressed are presenters alone and do not necessarily represent author or the institution. So let's start with perform quality assurance. Perform quality assurance is the process of auditing the quality requirements and the results from quality control measurements to ensure the appropriate quality standards are used. So in quality assurance, we actually audit the quality requirements and the results of the quality control measures in order to make sure that the quality of the project or the different processes or tasks in a project are according to the quality standards that we have already planned. Perform quality assurance is an execution process that uses the data that is created during perform quality control. So the data that is created in the perform quality control, that data is actually used in order to execute this whole process using the perform quality assurance. Perform quality assurance provide an umbrella for continuous process improvement, and it includes some inputs like project management plan, quality matrix, work performance information, and quality control measurements. And we have already discussed these inputs in the previous lectures. So we are not going to discuss these inputs today. Other tools and techniques are the plan, quality, and perform quality control tools and techniques, the quality audits, and process analysis. We have some outputs as well, like organizational process assets updates, change requests, project management plan update, and project document updates. So these are some of the inputs that we have already discussed. So we are not going to discuss these inputs here. Let's talk about the tools and techniques. Before discussing the tools and techniques here, please remember that different tools and techniques that we have discussed in the previous lectures can also be used in the quality assurance and quality control. And those tools and techniques include the 7 basic tools of quality or 7 quality control tools or Ishikawa tools. So let's talk about the quality audits. Quality audit is one of the tool and technique that we can use for performing the quality assurance. In this process, a structured independent review is used to determine whether the project qualities comply with the organizational and project policies, processes, and procedures. So in this particular process, we actually perform a review to identify whether the quality of the project activities are according to the organizational or project policies or procedures or processes. The objective of quality audit are to identify all the best or good practices that being implemented. and identify all the gaps or weaknesses or shortcomings in the quality of the different processes, and share the good practices introduced or implemented in similar projects. So the good practices that are regarding the quality that are performed in different activities must be introduced and implemented in similar projects. And those, practices will, be implemented in similar project in case when these practices are shared with different groups. Proactively offer assistance to improve the implementation of processes and highlight contributions of each audit in the lessons learned. So you know that all of these processes and the changes that is usually performed in for improving the quality of different activities or work packages or control accounts, those all changes or the quality improvement processes are actually documented, so that the upcoming project managers or project team can learn lessons from those particular processes. So quality audits may be scheduled or random, or may be conducted by internal or external auditors. Quality audits can confirm the implementation of approved change requests, including corrective actions that are usually taken to perform changes or to repair the defects, and preventive actions that are usually performed to prevent the processes from different defects or problems. Then we have the process analysis, and process analysis follows the steps that are outlined in the process improvement plan to identify the needed improvement. So process analysis is actually performed to analyze the process in order to identify the major problems or gaps or weaknesses, and to improve those weaknesses and convert those weaknesses into strengths. This will help to improve the process. This analysis also examines problems, experience, constraints experienced, and non-value added activities identified during the process operations. Process analysis includes the root cause analysis, a specific technique to identify a problem, discover the underlying causes that lead to it, and develop the preventive actions. So process analysis include the root cause analysis, and root cause analysis is actually a process in which the root causes of a particular problem are identified, and those root causes are eliminated or eradicated, and that will lead to the eradication of the whole problem. Let's talk about the quality assurance outputs. So the first output is obviously the organizational process assets update. So with performing the quality assurance, we can update the elements of the organizational process assets. Okay, those assets are updated because of the improvement of different processes, or converting the shortcomings or the gaps or weaknesses into the strengths. Change requests are created and they are used to allow consideration of the recommended improvements. Change requests can be used to take corrective action or preventive action, or to perform the defect repair. And like other similar knowledge areas, we can have the project management plan update. So you have to update the project, the sections of the project management that are relevant to the quality. We will update the quality management plan, the schedule management plan, and cost management plan. And the project documents, the relevant documents, the documents that are actually relevant to the quality, that are also needed to be updated. And those documents include quality audit reports, training plans, and process documentation. Then we have the last process in project quality management, and that process is perform the quality control. So it is actually the process of monitoring and recording the results of executing the quality activities to assess the performance and recommend necessary changes. And this quality control process is actually performed from the start to the end of the project in order to monitor and to record the different quality activities and to find out the gaps or the weaknesses in quality processes. So quality control is often performed by a quality control department or similarly titled organizational units. So different organizations use different titles for the quality control department. Quality control activities identify causes of poor processes or product quality and recommend and or take action to eliminate those problems. It has some inputs like project management plan, quality matrix, quality checklist, work performance measurements, approved change request, deliverables, and organizational process assets. And the tool and techniques include the cause and effect diagrams, control charts, flow charting, histogram, Pareto chart, run chart, scatter diagram, statistical sampling, inspection, and approved change request review. Then we have some outputs as well, like quality control measurements, validated changes, validated deliverables, organizational process assets updates, change requests, project management plan updates, and project document updates. So you know that most of the inputs have already been discussed, so we are not going to discuss those inputs. You know, the project management plan is an input, and in management plan, we have to focus on the quality management section, which is actually a subsidiary plan of the project management plan. Then work performance measurements, we actually compare the plan versus actual technical performance, the plan versus actual schedule performance, and the plan versus actual cost performance. And organizational process assets include the quality standards and quality policies and procedures, standard work guidelines, and issue and defect reporting procedures and communicating policies. Let's talk about the tools and techniques. Remember that we have already discussed the cause and effect diagrams in some other tools, but again, we are going to discuss it here. So cause and effect diagram is also called a fishbone diagram or Ishikawa diagram, and it is actually used to identify the root causes of an effect or problem. A possible root cause can be uncovered by continuing the questions like why and how again and again. So why, and how diagrams can may be used in root cause analysis. Okay, so this is actually the fishbone diagram, and it resembles the diagram or the skeleton of the fish. So this is the head of the fish, and we need to write the major defect or problem in the head of the fish. Then we need to draw a straight line and then draw the branches of that straight line, or we call it the bones, the basic bones. So these basic bones actually represent the major causes to this particular problem. For example, we have a problem here, and the major causes regarding the material, major cause regarding major causes regarding environment, major causes regarding the personnel working there, major causes regarding the method, machine, time, energy, and measurement. Then when we ask the different questions here, like, you know, why questions and how questions at this particular part, then we can divide this particular branch into sub branches, and we can identify the root causes like this. Similarly, if we want to know about the root causes regarding the environment, then we can ask different questions regarding why and how questions regarding the environment, and we can divide this particular branch into sub branches, and thus we can find the root cause regarding the environment, and similar is the case for all others. Control charts are actually the charts that actually use the collected data or the gathered data and analyzed to indicate the quality status of the project process and products. It actually show how a process behaves over time, and when a process is subject to special cause variation, so it should actually, the control chart actually used to identify the behavior of the process, and it identify whether the process variation is small or large, or whether the process is within the control or outside of the control. So when a process is within acceptable limits, like if the process data is between the or the process outcomes, outcome data or data points are between the upper and lower control limits of the control chart, then that means that the project does not need to be adjusted and the process is within the control. But on the other hand, if the process is outside the acceptable limits, then the process should be adjusted. Flow charting or process map is used to determine a failing process steps and identify the potential process improvement opportunities. It actually gave us a big picture of the whole process. And histogram is a vertical bar chart, and it shows how often a particular variable state occurred. And each column represents an attribute or characteristic of the problem or situation. And in front of you is the Parity chart. So it is actually a diagram, and it is a specific type of histogram actually, which is ordered by frequency of occurrence. So it shows how many defects were generated by type or category of identified causes. Rank ordering is used to focus the corrective action, and a project team should address the causes, creating the greatest number of defects first. And this chart is actually based on the principle, we call it 80 by 20 principle or 80 by 20 rule. And this principle says that 80% of the problems are due to 20% of the causes. So here in front of you is the Pareto chart, and the x-axis represent the occurrence of the you know, we actually need to find out the causes of the late time entries, and the data regarding the causes of late time entries has been plotted here. So the left, this axis, x-axis represent the occurrence. Would you please just a minute, okay? Sorry for disruptions. Okay, so let's discuss it again. So this axis represent occurrences, and the y-axis represent the rate of defects. So you can see here that, that means that 30, these are actually the process instructions and the insufficient time and travel and system failure. These are actually the causes of late time entries. So here we need to identify that how much is the occurrence of these causes that resulted into the late time entries. So here we can see that 30 uh, um, 30 causes regarding the process instructions led to the late time entries. Similarly, 25 insufficient time related causes are actually the basic reasons of the late time entries. So these are actually the occurrences or the frequencies of these different causes that are actually responsible for the late time entries. So you can see here that the causes or the cause that actually the causes that are mainly responsible for late time entries are, the first one is the process instructions. That is, the process instruction related causes are the may are are the most responsible causes of late time entries problem. Similarly, on second, we can see that insufficient time related problems are actually the main, or sorry, related causes are actually the main causes or reasons of late time entries. So if we for example, if we eradicate or remove or eliminate these two causes, and then we can reduce, this particular problem, that is the late time entry problem, by around 50%. Okay, so and if you for example, if we remove the process instructions, insufficient time, travel, and other problems, okay, except these two, then we can, remove around 85 to 90% of the late time entry related problems. Okay, and last one is scatter diagram. Scatter diagram is actually, it actually show the relationship between two different variables. Okay, so this tool allows the quality team to study and identify the possible relationship between the changes that is observed in two variables. Dependent variables versus independent variables are usually plotted on this particular graph. The closer the points are to the diagonal line, the more closely they are related. So, for example, we consider any example. For example, if you want to reduce the time, for example, this is the time, x-axis represent the time of an activity, and y-axis, excuse me, represent the cost of an activity. So if we want to reduce the time of an activity, then obviously it will affect, the cost of activity. Reducing the time of activity will lead to increasing the time, the cost of activity. So that means that actually with the change in one variable, that is time, the other variable, that is cost, will change. So we usually draw the straight line here, in this particular graph, and those points that are actually near to this straight line or diagonal line, then that means that those points are, the relationship of those variables are actually very strong. I have already discussed this scatter diagram in the previous lecture, and in two lectures. So that's why I'll not going to explain it in further details. If you want to understand the scatter diagram, please visit the previous lectures. Then we have the statistical sampling tool, and these are actually, the samples are actually selected and tested as I defined in the quality plan. And we will discuss the statistical sampling in details in a separate chapter, because we have a number of different statistical samplings, like random sampling. For example, if you have 100 pure mineral water bottles, and you want to investigate 10 of those 100 bottles, then you can randomly select any of 10 bottles. Okay, so that is called random sampling. Another type of sampling is, I would say, we call it the sorry yeah, another type of sampling is, we call it systematic sampling. For example, if you want to investigate 10 bottles out of 100 bottles, then you can select, for example, if you investigate the 10th bottle, after 9 bottles, you select the 10th bottle, and the 20th bottle, and the 30th bottle, and the 40th bottle, 50th, 60th, 70th, 80th, 90th, and 100th bottle. Then that means that you are actually selecting or investigating the different samples systematically. So we have some other types of statistical sampling techniques. So we will discuss those topics in a separate statistical sampling chapter. An inspection is actually the examination of work product to determine whether it conforms, whether it is actually conforming to the documented standards or the planned standards or not. So the result of an inspection generally include measurements and may be conducted at any level. And obviously, if you have put the change request, then those change requests are actually reviewed, and after reviewing, some of those change requests may be approved or some of those may be rejected. So you need to document all those change requests as well. Then we have the quality control measurements. So quality control measurements are the documented results of quality control activities in the format specified during the quality planning. And validated changes are actually any change or repaired items are inspected and will be either accepted or rejected before notification of the decision is provided. So these things are simple. That's why I'm not going to explain these things in details. Then validated deliverables, when the products or the services are produced as a result of any project, then we need to validate the deliverables. We need to, check and investigate the quality of those deliverables and to identify and to determine and to investigate whether the quality of those deliverables are according to the planned standards or not. And then we have the change request. So if the recommended corrective or preventive actions or a defect repair requires a change to the project management plan, then a change request should be initiated. Okay. Then we have some other outputs, like you need to update the project management plan, especially the quality management plan and process improvement plan. Okay, plans. And the project document updates, you need to, update the project documents and especially the quality standards there. And you need to update the organizational process assets updates, like the completed checklist, and lessons that are learned from the quality project quality management. So we have actually discussed what is the quality assurance process and its two inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs. Then we have discussed the quality control process or audits as well, and their inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs. So I hope you you understood this whole particular lecture. If you have any question regarding any particular topic, please ask me using my email address or my cell number or WhatsApp number. Okay. Okay. Some of the parts are not actually explained in details in this particular lecture because they have already been, discussed in the previous lectures. So you can visit, Learn with Wasim Facebook page or YouTube channel, and you can find any of the related, topic lectures. Okay. Till then, thank you and bye bye.